With the newest expansion for Legends of Runeterra, Heart of the Huntress, being out for a little bit now, many players were able to get yet another batch of their favorite champions with a refreshing new take, even if one was actually the Poro King. Looking back on each of these characters in League of Legends though, it's hard to see much inspiration that matches the amount of love and care put into the conception of these champions on the side of Legends of Runeterra. Even with new attempts to rebrand Neeko as the true shapeshifter style character we thought we were getting in the beginning, it seems a little lifeless and uninspired as, what, you get to be a minion? Or, wait, blue buff? I'm just kidding. In this video though, I'll be showing just how Legends of Runeterra gave an amazing new look to their newest champion additions in Nidalee and Neeko, and the aspects where League of Legends might have been able to take some pointers to give some life into its version of their designs. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe, as over 98% of you who watch aren't subscribed to the channel. The entire goal of this expansion was to bring the jungle to Legends of Runeterra, turning shadows in the brush into supremely effective surprise attacks. Tell me again why Rengar wasn't part of this expansion? Though leaving some seriously cool opportunities for this expansion till a bit later down the road, we did get two great additions from the wild that each introduced their own new and flavorful mechanics. Starting with the face of the expansion, Nidalee's from the ground up redesign looks oh so amazing. She trades in her primitive clothing options for a fluffy fur coat design. And along with this, there's a lot more emphasis on the animalistic aspects to how Nidalee presents herself as a character. With the blatant addition of cat ears, Nidalee much better assumes the role of a true shapeshifter, where it makes sense for someone like her to transform into such a pack mother. Whereas it's a bit harder to get around to the fact that this lady can turn into a cougar. I mean, it makes sense in a 2.5 Men sort of way, but that was Riot Games back in early 2010 for you. This change begins to better blend her into her more obvious origins tied to Ishtal and the Vastaya. And they even say she's a cat person. It's on the card. Even Pack Mother Nidalee gives a whole new definition to the power of this champion once transformed. Just looking at this version next to the cougar form on Summoner's Rift, you can see the difference in the highlighting qualities, and where League of Legends has missed an opportunity to make such a threatening concept work. Her mystical green tattoos stay intact and pop out to clash with the burnt orange overhaul they've gone with in the redesign. These design choices give the beast an even more threatening feel, with accents and flair that establish an imposing nature. From the extravagant whiskers to the vibrant fangs, Nidalee has all the tools to look the part in comparison to the rest of the cast of champions. All of these changes were implemented, but Legends of Runeterra managed to maintain the core gameplay design from League of Legends even when transitioning to a card game. Nidalee in her base card form has quick attack to go along with the general rule of ranger champions in general, but once she's transformed into Pack Mother Nidalee, you're going for a kill up close with an overwhelming swing. They didn't stop there, as they even considered going back to the human form of Nidalee as well, as once you switch back to the Vastaya, you get her signature javelin toss in hand, reminiscent of the numerous long shot kill secures you see on the Rift. I really hope they implement this new redesign into League of Legends, as it's simply a better color palette and image overall to stand out amongst the plethora of champions that have received infinitely more attention recently. Neeko though seems to be a bit of a different situation. This champ was always a standout visually compared to the other characters around her, but that's about where the positives stopped when it came to design. Teased to be a real shapeshifter like the kinds we've never seen before, Neeko was supposed to provide a truly unique gameplay element that would go against the grain in terms of what you typically had to play around concerning a given champion. With how tricky some League players can be, we were expecting some serious outplays once this champion released. But instead we got more of a traditional kit disguised as a unique champion concept. As I mentioned earlier, League of Legends attempted to swing her gameplay back in the direction of this trickery as they added the ability to transform into lane minions and jungle monsters. This is a fun step towards what we want out of Neeko, but it doesn't feel like it carries enough utility to be considered a viable part of her character design. Leave it to Legends of Runeterra though to redefine what this character's identity was. This time not purely through visual redesign, but through the surrounding substance that allows her to fit into Runeterra. On base design alone, there isn't much that screams chameleon aside from the tail. Neeko, along with many other fantasy concepts turned champion, just has to take on the form of a human girl. This time, I guess, with some curious tattoos. But this honestly would be fine if there were any animalistic traits to her gameplay at all. Now this is where LOR changes things. Being classified as a Runeterran champion in the card game, Neeko sources from all the regions across the League of Legends world, and the only other cards that are allowed to be played within a Neeko deck are animal class followers. Dogs, cats, birds, and reptiles were all added to go along with the few other classes already in the game that were representative of classifications of animals. And the way that Neeko brings these gameplay elements together is nothing short of genius. While not boasting a huge play rate at the moment, I can only see it rising as time goes on since the disguise mechanic is done so well. Being able to transform Neeko into one of 3 random followers from her origin rings true with what many League of Legends players may have been expecting when they first heard of a champion like her. A true sense of deception had been missing from League of Legends, and when they finally got it, the reality of it was just more clone nonsense. This time, it really fulfills Neeko's character identity of being a multifaceted shapeshifter. Somebody that can adapt to any wilderness situation they needed to. Obviously, there's only so much able to be displayed through the lens of a card game, but I think each of these champions, even in these forms, have far better design directions than their League of Legends counterparts. If you enjoyed this video, please check out the rest of my channel, and consider leaving a like and subscribing, as it really helps me out. Thank you.